Hey again. This one is called Another Simple Request. Number 32. Let's get at it. That night, Taylor had a dream. She was down on a football field cheering while her parents were in the stands looking for her. She kept shouting, "I'm down here!" But they couldn't hear her for all the noise. She awoke crying. A half hour later, someone knocked on her door. One of the servants, a young, dark-haired woman who spoke broken English, handed her an envelope. "Excuse me, I bother you," she said. "Bless you." Taylor opened the envelope. It says, "Family meeting in the library at 9 o'clock in the morning, sharp. Attendance mandatory. Be dressed casually, and we will be leaving the academy. Signed, Dr. Hatch." Now what? She thought. Taylor got dressed, then crossed the hall to find Tara, but she had already left her room. Taylor didn't know where the library was, but saw Quentin waiting in the elevator. "Hey, Quentin!" He turned, his usual smile on his face. "Hey, Tara." "I'm Taylor." He stopped and looked at her. "Of course you are. Sorry, I'll figure it out eventually." He put his hand on her back. "Do you have any birthmarks or anything I should look for?" "Afraid not." "It shouldn't be too hard. You're prettier than she is." Taylor rolled her eyes. "Yeah, right. We're identical." They stepped into the elevator and Quentin pushed the button for the first floor. "No, there's something different about you. I swear it." Taylor ignored the comment. "Are we going to the library?" "Yes. Just follow me." A few seconds later, the elevator door opened. "After you," Quentin said. "Thank you." Taylor stepped out in the hallway, followed by Quentin. Do we have family meetings a lot?" "No, just on special occasions." "So you don't know what it's about?" "Yes, but I can't tell you. Doctor's orders." He grinned. "But you'll be glad you went." They arrived at the open door and walked in together. "If you want, let's hang out today," Quentin said. "And by the way, you can call me Q. It's easier." "Thanks, Q. Anytime. Talk to you later." Tara was really already inside the library. She was standing next to Dr. Hatch, and they both looked at Taylor as she entered. Does that make it better? Taylor was sure they had been talking about her. Brian was the last to arrive, his hair sticking up on the side of his head as if he had just rolled out of bed. Tara left Hatch's side and sat down next to Taylor. "Morning, sis." "Good morning." "Good morning, everyone," Dr. Hatch said. "Good morning, Dr. Hatch," they all said in unison. "I have an announcement." He turned to Taylor. "Taylor, since all of you were born around the same time, having individual birthday parties got to be a little ridiculous. So we started having one large family celebration instead. Sometimes we have great activities here at the academy, and sometimes we travel to other places." "Yeah, deep fishing off Costa Rica, man," Brian said. "My favorite was riding bikes through Tuscany," Quentin said. "That was cool," Tara said to Taylor. "That was last year." Hatch smiled. "We've had some good times. I was thinking that since Taylor missed the family party, well, since she missed the last 14, it's only fair that we have one especially for her." Everyone cheered except Nichelle, who never really looked happy. Hatch reached into his coat pocket and brought out an envelope. "So this morning, we're going to the Long Beach Arena for the X Games motocross finals." Brian jumped up, high-fived Quentin. "Oh yeah, oh yeah." Zeus sat quietly in his seat, looking angry. Taylor guessed he had been grounded from the activity. Hatch added, "And of course, we have VIP seating. We're so close to the action, you can smell the fear. All right, Brian yelled. Smell the fear. This is going to rock. There was a chorus of thank yous, which Taylor joined. Thank you, Dr. Hatch. Hatch smiled at Taylor. Nothing's too good for family, he said. Then he added, for my eagles. What he said bothered her. She knew that Tara had already told him about the conversation the night before. You know it, Brian said. We're eagles. Chickens peck, eagles fly. So let's fly, Hatch said. He stood and raised his hands. The limo awaits, picking up your box breakfast on the way out. Everyone jumped up except Zeus, who was slumped back in his chair, his legs spread and his hands clasped between them. Zeus looked up at Hatch. Potentially, but Hatch walked past him without a word. On the way to the cars, Taylor asked Tara, what are the X Games? Are you kidding? I lost my spot. Tara said, don't they have television in Idaho? The X Games are only the coolest thing in the world. They've been sold out for months. Quentin walked up behind her. So, Taylor, you want to sit by me at the games? Both Tara and Kaylee frowned. Sorry, Quentin, Dr. Hatch said. I will have the honor of sitting next to this birthday girl. So, sorry, sir. The kitchen staff was waiting outside in the parking lot and handed each of them a box breakfast as they climbed into the limos. Inside the box was a carton of orange juice, a bagel, an egg, and a sausage croissant, a cup of yogurt, and, of course, a banana. Taylor spread cream cheese over the bagel, then sat back and watched the scenery. She was in such a different world, half dream, half nightmare. She was feeling more confused every day. Her mother always told her that she was special, that she was going to leave her mark on the world. And here she was. A new life had been unfolded before her, filled with opportunity, growth, wealth, power, and privilege, just like her mother promised. So why did this all feel so wrong? She looked at Tara and Quentin. They weren't bad. Maybe Tara was right. She needed to trust more and give Dr. Hatch a chance. After all, he had gone out of his way to welcome her. Didn't all his efforts warrant a little consideration? Was he really so bad? She thought back to the time at Harry Winston's. Good. The truth is, if you're going to change the world, you don't always have the luxury of time or convention. You can't make omelets without breaking a few eggs, can you? I guess not. No, you can't. Now tell me about your friend Michael. Hearing him say Michael's name filled Taylor with dread. What do you want to know? Well, what is he like? He's nice. I noticed from his report that he spent a fair amount of time in school detention. Is he a troublemaker? Rebellious? She didn't want to talk about Michael, but she wasn't sure how to avoid it. No, he's a good kid. I think he's just unlucky. Unlucky? Hatch repeated. Well, his luck is about to change. Taylor didn't know what to say. Just then, Hatch reached into his coat pocket and pulled out his cell phone. Hello? Taylor looked back over the grounds, happy for the interruption. After a few more minutes, Tara returned with the food. There you go, she said, handing Taylor 2 hot dogs and a beer. Give this to Dr. Hatch. Taylor handed him a beer and dog. She unwrapped her own hot dog and lost herself in the competition. After a few more competitions, Taylor turned to Tara. This is really cool, she shouted over the noise. Tara smiled. The coolest. Didn't I tell you? Taylor was applauding the amazing jump when Hatch leaned over to her. "See that next rider? The one in the yellow jacket?" She nodded. "He's really cool." Hatch said, "He's currently tied for first in this, and his last chance to score." "I don't want him to win." Taylor looked at him, wondering why he was telling her that. "I don't want him to win," he repeated. "Then, hopefully, he won't do his best." "Hope isn't in the plan," Hatch said. "It's blind faith in luck. It's chance. Winners don't ever leave things to chance. So, when he's in the middle of his jump, I want you to reboot him." Taylor just looked at him. "But he'll crash." "That's a distinct possibility." "It could kill him." "That's also a possibility, but that's the risk you take in these types of sports." "Why do you think all these people are here?" Taylor's forehead furrowed with concern. Hatch leaned back, his expression changing some. "I'm not asking much, Taylor. I just want to see if you have what it takes to fit in with us." Taylor swallowed. Before the rider rode up to the platform at the top of the ramp, he had removed his helmet and he was waving to the extended crowd while cameras flashed around him. He blew a kiss to a woman holding a baby who Taylor guessed was his wife. Then he pulled his helmet back on and began revving his engine. Dr. Hatch leaned back and sipped his beer. Tara looked at her and leaned close. "You gotta do it, Taylor. He's not kidding. He's asking me to kill someone. He's asking you to prove your loyalty. Chicken or eagle, sis?" "I can't do it." Tara looked at her nervously. "You have to." "No, I don't," Taylor said. "You don't understand. You have to do what Dr. Hatch says." "What if I don't?" Taylor's eyes widened with fear. "You don't want to find out." The motorcycle took off. It dipped low, then shot off the end of the ramp, sailing 60 feet in the air. Camera flashes popped as the bike sailed through the sky. The rider twisted back and was in the middle of his second flip. Then suddenly the bike went awry. The crowd screamed as the bike landed sideways on the opposite ramp, flipping tail over front while the rider flopped across the ground behind it until he slammed into the retaining wall below a long row of bleachers. The rider lay motionless. The woman he had blown a kiss to was running towards him and the emergency crews sprang into action, accompanied by the sound of a siren. Hatch stood and looked at Taylor, then Tara. His face bent in anger. "We're going," he said fiercely, brushing past Taylor. "Nichelle with me." The entire family stood. As they slid down the bench, Taylor said to Tara, "What happened?" I didn't do that." Tara was furious. All he asked for was a show of faith. "Was that so much?" "He asked me to kill someone." "So what?" "So what?" Taylor said. "How can you say that?" Tara turned on her. "They're just people." The limousines were waiting while they'd been dropped off, and the drivers jumped out at their approach, opening the car doors. Even though no one spoke to her, Taylor could feel everyone's anger directed at her. She wondered how they all knew. Hatch didn't say a word the whole way back. At the academy, the driver opened the door and Hatch climbed out, followed by the other 3 girls. "Tara, go to your room and wait for me." Tara fervently glanced at her. There was fear in her eyes, and they began welling up in her with her tears. "Yes, sir," Tara said, and quickly ran off. Taylor was afraid for both of them. Hatch pointed at Taylor. You, come with me. Nichelle looked at her, a half smile crossing her face. Taylor shivered. Yes, sir, she said. Taylor followed Hatch to the elevator. He pushed a button marked D, and they descended. When the door opened, they stepped out into a dark corridor. Taylor followed Hatch while Nichelle quietly followed a few yards behind her. They stopped in front of the heavy metal door. Hatch turned to Taylor. Would you like to explain to me what happened? Nothing, sir. I didn't do anything. Precisely. He shook his head. After all I've done for you, all I asked for was a simple demonstration of loyalty and gratitude, and this is how you thank me? Taylor was terrified. But he fell. Hatch tapped his glasses. I can see when you use your powers. Because he can see with his glasses. Tara decided to step in for you. I will deal with her later. She was only trying to protect me. Yes, and deceive me. It's my fault. Yes, it is. If you had acted with integrity, none of this would have been necessary. He opened the door to expose a large, dark room. I'm so very disappointed in you, Taylor. I extended a hand of friendship, and you bit it. I had certainly hoped we could do this the easy way. I guess I was wrong. He grabbed her by the arm and pulled her into the room. You're hurting me, Taylor said. You have no idea what hurt is, but you will. Nichelle, Miss Ridley needs a little lesson in gratitude. About an hour's worth to begin with. Oblige me. A sadistic smile lit Nichelle's face. I'd be happy to. Nichelle stepped inside the dark room, and Hatch shut the door behind the girls. He could hear Taylor's screams even before he reached the other side of the corridor. This is awful.